How are you doing? Before I go further, let me just say, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell right away. And when you do that, you'll be able to hear, at your convenience, hard-hitting social democratic commentary by yours truly. I am American Social Democracy. Historically, corporations, companies, the private sector, businesses were always associated with the forces of conservatism, the forces of the right. That's how it was stated, and its opponents opponents. Sorry, were organized labor, which he associated historically with the political left, liberalism today, or progressivism. After about during all these years, with the Reagan Revolution being launched 40 years ago, economic liberalism, social democracy, things with a left-wing orientation, I like to call it the New Deal consensus, went into serious decline. And there was no more New Deal consensus because Ronald Reagan changed the conversation. There was a time when, after the Great Depression, after World War II, that it was historically decided that the New Deal was a rip-roaring success. You give people a job, you give people Social Security, infrastructure, because of jobs are being given, guaranteed, were created. It laid the foundation for the prosperity that we will enjoy later on. Even when conservatives say, we didn't need that FDR New Deal. What got us out of the Great Depression was World War II. Partially correct about World War II, but it was basically 80% New Deal got us out of the Great Depression, 20% World War II. And what I mean by that is that we had an efficient infrastructure set up by the time World War II started. So yes, the New Deal got us out of the Great Depression. FDR, the only problem with FDR's New Deal, it didn't go far enough. We needed a second Bill of Rights. Unfortunately, we're still working on that today. Let me go on further. That what FDR did, it continued with Truman. It continued with Eisenhower, along with Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon, Ford, Carter, sort of. And the thing is that it was a success. When you had a third of the workforce that belonged to a labor union, remember FDR made unions possible in this country. I mean, like really a serious institution, and it elevated the standard of living for the average individual and average working family. And even companies which were not unionized, the unions were strong enough that the non-union companies were like, holy crap, if we don't go and coddle these workers and give them better wages and better benefits, they're going to have that union in here. We better behave. And look where we're at today. We're 6% of the workforce. The private sector is 6% of the workforce. And people are trying to destroy the public sector unions and strip them of their collective bargaining, where they have a little more leverage for their economic well-being. So if this trend keeps going on where unions disappear, there will be a time where you'll have no unions left. In its most logical conclusion. Do you think that the standards of living is going to get better? We have seen economic decline across the country because of the decline of the unions. Again, look at Norway, look at Sweden, look at Denmark. And for all the conservatives who want to sit there and lecture me, but those are not socialist countries. Didn't say they were socialist countries, but they've had socialist parties elected. They have labor parties elected. And when you elect a Labor Party and you elect a Socialist Party, yeah, you don't necessarily get rid of capitalism, but you know what? you make capitalism more humane. You give capitalism a conscience. And, I mean, that's what it comes down to. When you have 90% of the workforce unionized, and you have guaranteed medical care for everybody in the country, you have guaranteed paid vacation times, you have generous pension retirement systems, you're going to have a very good society. It's common sense. And what was mainstream and common sense at one time is considered kooky and left wing for many years until recently. And the right wing can't stand it. That that the conversation's coming back. Let's go and let's have a robust safety net. Let's expand union rights. Let's make sure that we join the rest of the industrialized Western worlds that have guaranteed free medical care for the entire population. And to think about it is, we're the one that's out to lunch as a society in the Western world for not having these things. It's actually criminal when you think about it. So basically, liberalism they thought that liberalism would have to acclimate, since they said, well, Reagan won. No, a lot of lazy liberals let people think that Reagan won. And that's when you end up with things like the Democratic Leadership Council, and you ended up with things like the Third Way and Bill Clinton rebranding the Democratic Party and moving it away from the New Deal consensus. And I will never, ever forgive Bill and Hillary Clinton for destroying the Democratic Party. And I mean, when I think about the presidential vote I've ever made in my life that I regret the most, I regretted voting for Bill Clinton in 1992. No, I would have never voted for George Herbert Walker Bush in a million years. I detest the Bush family as much as I detest the Clintons. My choice in 1992 would have been J. Quinn Brisbane, the Socialist Party USA candidate for president. I would have voted for him or supported him if I would have known about J. Quinn Brisbane in 1992. Okay, so the 1990s happened, and Bill Clinton rebranded the Democratic Party in exactly the same way Tony Blair rebranded the British Labour Party in the UK and moved the party away from its socialism and moved it toward a soft Thatcherism. And whereas the Democratic Party moved away from its liberalism and moved it toward a soft Reaganism. And for that, as I said, I will never forgive Bill Clinton. And I don't think too highly of Tony Blair either, for that matter. Well, the thing about it is, there's a culture war linked to it. Because with Reagan, we ended up with the culture war. We ended up with the Christian right, and the Christian right, were always problematic, trying to create Christian Sharia in the United States. And they denounce anybody who opposed their agenda and say, well, you're just anti-Christian. I mean, and that was not the case. There's never been the case that people are trying to do away with Christianity. They just don't want to have religion crammed down at them. And you got the Republican Party that saw these crazy religious people, and instead of just wanted them to tone it down, they ran over there and embraced and coddled them. And the Republican Party is basically a theocratic party today. It's not even a center-right party in the Western sense of the word. And we're in a situation where the Democratic Party also went so far to the right that the Democratic Party in the United States today is arguably to the right of the British Conservative Party in the UK. I've said this analogy before, and I'll say it again. While Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister of the UK, was thanking the National Health Service for saving his life from COVID last year in 2020, Joe Biden was promising to make damn sure we'll never get Medicare for all, that he would veto the legislation if it ever comes to his desk. So this is the Overton window we're dealt with, and this is why I do this channel, to try to do my part to change the national conversation. So you have the culture war with Ronald Reagan, with George W. Bush, who fused neoconservative foreign policy with the Christian right, and it kind of morphed into the Tea Party movement during the Obama years to what is now the Trump movement today. With Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, you ended up with basically politically correct, silly people that does not know anything about worker empowerment, but wants to do a campaign against hurt feelings. So this is what we're dealt with, and income inequality gets thrown out of the window. And both the Democrats and Republicans have an unspoken agreement that will make American people forget all about all the serious problems that exist by focusing on God, gays, and guns. Both sides do it in their own way, and they think they're owning each other. And what they're doing, they're both kind of screwing over the American people by doing this in their own way. So the right-wing people complain about woke corporations, but I'm going to talk about where the liberals. I'm going to talk about the liberals first, because where the liberals have their crap list when it comes to corporations that they dislike, and I'll tell you why they dislike it, and I'll give you a little explanation about some corporations that where there is a left-right hypocrisy on it on both sides, because I'm going to follow with the right-wing crap list too against the liberals. Okay, the liberals. The right-wing people, the liberals hate Chick-fil-A. It's been a good reason that they hate Chick-fil-A. When the CEO basically said that he is opposed to same-sex marriage. Now that same-sex marriage is the law of the land, doesn't matter what the CEO of Chick-fil-A thinks of same-sex marriage. It exists. It's a settled issue. And he was wrong to have his own conclusions. It is his right to have that conclusion, to embrace that issue, but he can't do anything about it, thankfully. Same-sex marriage is here, and it's a settled issue. And the beautiful thing about same-sex marriage being legal, not only was it the right decision to make in the Supreme Court, if they ever overturn it, it will be a can of legal worms. So much so that a lot of conservatives just kind of stopped talking about same-sex marriage, and they lost in that culture war battle, and they're going to go on with other things. So, in my opinion, I don't think that same-sex marriage will ever be overturned. That ship has passed. Liberals hate Walmart. Now, with Walmart, several things. A lot of crap comes out of China, where there's where workers are abused. It's an authoritarian country, and Walmart is seriously anti-union, and I mean they are profoundly anti-union. Hobby Lobby is basically the people that run it are ultra religious right types. And they have tried to make sure their employees do not get contraceptions at all under the Obamacare health plan. Now, as much as I disagree with Hobby Lobby, I think that the best way to resolve issues like healthcare coverage with birth control, contraceptions, whatever, under insurance plans is to have Medicare for all. And that way, Hobby Lobby wouldn't have to bother with that issue. It would not violate their religious rights. And the employees cannot have a private company telling them what they can and cannot do with their body. Exxon, we know they're a polluter. They're just, it's an oil company. It's crappy. I personally think that the U.S. government ought to seize the Exxon company and nationalize it. And then there's Mike Lindell from MyPillow. He's a nut. He is an absolute nutcase. He donates to right-wing causes, and just I can see why liberals don't like My Pillow with Michael Lindell. Now let's talk about the right wing companies. The right wing companies that the companies that the right wing hates. Nike. They hate Nike for the wrong reason because Nike sponsors Colin Kaepernick, who kneel before the national anthem. Now, I don't understand why kneeling is disrespectful. And I'm more concerned about why he was kneeling than the fact that he was kneeling. He was correct to kneel if that's his way to make a statement, because police brutality is a problem in this country, especially when you put a racist component to it. Even if the police brutality is race neutral, the fact is police brutality is wrong. And here's the thing. If you're a decent left winger or if you're a decent right winger, there's a good reason to boycott Nike. They pay starvation wages in the third world to make their product and to sell it here in the United States at an outrageous price. Okay. Now, Starbucks. Here's the political correctness to come out of the far right when it comes to the culture war. They think that the emblem of Starbucks is some kind of pagan or satanic symbol, and they made a big stink about I think it was that they didn't say that they were saying happy holidays and not acknowledging Christmas to the way that the social conservatives wants them to acknowledge Christmas. Now, here's the thing. I mean, I'm a Christian, a lukewarm Christian, but I'm a Christian. And the thing about it is, I do not think that liberals are stopping me from saying Merry Christmas or Happy Easter. They're not stopping me from going to church or what have you. So, where is it that the Christians are under attack? I don't see it. Google. Now, here's where I'm going to come closest to agreeing with the right wing when it comes to Google. There is a lot of censorship in social media, and sometimes you have blogs taken down, and you have YouTube videos that are taken down. You have in social media, you're having a lot of censorship these days, and to the point where now you're having like a ministry of truth to make sure that the information is accurate that's being presented. That's ridiculous. Target, because Target goes and decided to have gender neutral bathrooms. I did not know that being a transgender individual was a left wing or right wing issue. I thought it was a human rights issue. Transgender community deserves equality under the law, just like the lesbians, just like the gays, just like the bisexuals, just like the straight people, just like anybody else. You're a human being, and there's all kinds of sexual orientations, and it is a spectrum, and all are entitled to equality under the law. And I have no problem with a gender neutral bathroom. Honestly, American Airlines. I remember when American Airlines were actually going out of their way to show their support in the 1990s for the LGBTQ community, and the right-wing people were going ballistic over this sort of thing. So, right there, you have it. You have companies that are upsetting the right. You have companies that are upsetting the left. Now, here's the thing. I don't give a damn what the political positions are of most corporations on the left or on the right, because most corporations on the left or on the right pay starvation wages to their employees, do not provide proper medical benefits to their employees, do not provide good retirement to their employees. I mean, corporations in general, they don't treat their workers good in this country. And that's, to me, more of a problem. So, the thing about it is, now with some of there's a slick campaign by more liberal leaning corporations, because they figure if we support these social issues, we can make people forget about income inequality, what have you. Kind of cynical about this sort of thing. And with the right wing, um, people who are, because it's all about authoritarianism when they are opposed to companies doing liberal leaning things or what have you. Now, I would be more impressed if we had woke economics instead. Why not that? Because with woke economics, people from across the political spectrum would benefit. If we can have a PRO Act to go and make damn sure that unions' rights are expanded, and we have more unions in the workforce, and reverse the trend that we've been going through for the last half century, where the unions started to disappear. The more unions you're going to have, the higher the wages are going to be. Even companies who are not unionized will be scared of the union movement and companies who are unionized. So in order to go and coddle their employees, they're going to go raise the wages, and they're going to go and make damn sure that they get decent medical benefits and things of that nature. So yes, let's get woke on economics. Let's return the unions into being an important factor in our U.S. economy. Let's have, at a minimum, let's have Medicare for all, like it exists in Canada, or let's go full-fledged socialized medicine like it exists in Great Britain right now, the National Health Service. And that way, everybody is covered. And let me tell you, when you have the entire population covered and guarantee health care, you're going to go and lengthen the life of people in this country, and you're going to get rid of things like bankruptcies for individual working families, and people will not have to choose between eating and paying rent, or paying rent and getting their prescription drugs, that sort of thing. So to me, let's have some woke economics instead. And I've spent the last 20 some minutes going around a round way to try to say this. We need to have woke economics. That's where I stand. You have woke economics, and that means a moderate kind of socialism or social democracy put into the equation. You have that, you're going to have an elevation of standard of living for virtually all people, which means that you'll have a more affluent society. You will have a kinder society. And I mean kinder, gentler nation in the most sincere way, not the BS way that George Herbert Walker Bush talked about having a kinder, gentler nation. What Bernie Sanders was offering in 2016 and 2020 was his vision of a truly kinder, gentler nation. And that's really what we need. We need that vision of Bernie Sanders in the economy. And you have a kinder, gentler nation, you'll have a more tolerant society. You have a more tolerant society, you will have less racism, you'll have less anti-Semitism, you'll have less homophobia, you'll have less hatred across the board. So, it's just food for thought. Instead of getting upset whether this corporation is right-wing and that corporation is left-wing and liberal and progressive or woke, why don't we get upset about the economic realities of this country, where we're all screwed? If you're not part of that 1%, we're all screwed. And that includes those silly Republicans that think that Donald Trump is their savior. And it turned out that all that fake populist talk of 2016 was all that fake, because he said we're going to do something about healthcare, make it better than Obamacare. Nothing. Infrastructure, nothing. Getting us out of these wars. Well, he had enough Bush Cheney people under his administration. He wouldn't let that happen. So where was the populism? he appointed a bunch of corporatists in his cabinet, and so I just don't see where we had the populism, except in his 2016 rhetoric. And 2020, Donald Trump reverted back to what is just god awful about the Republican Party when it comes to the culture war. So there you have it. If you like what you heard, press like and comment. If you disagree, well, that's fine. Comment anyway. We'll have a conversation. Feel free to share the content on this channel. As the First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to go ahead and create your own platform, utilize it, because we're the muckrakers of our time. And of course, as I said in the beginning, feel free to hit that subscribe button, that notification bell. And till next time, I am American Social Democracy. Peace. Class struggle yesterday, class struggle today, class struggle tomorrow, and class struggle until we achieve full economic and social justice for all.